Hey guys, and welcome to my Starbound Q&A video. Before I get started, for this video I'm going to be using fan art for Starbound by Thomas Decker. He's a member of the Starbound forum, so all the images you see in this video are by him. So I'm going to cover the Starbound Q&A. I'll put the link to the Q&A paste bin in the video description. These are some questions that the community were asking Ty and Ro, mostly, the developer, one of the lead artists on the game. So one person asked, what's the difference in difficulty depending on single or multiplayer? And Ty said the whole universe will be available in both single and multiplayer. They're looking at scaling the difficulty for multiplayer, but aside from that there's no real difference. The complete story, quests, and universe will all be available in multiplayer. Shadewolf asked, is there a maximum amount of people you can have on your crew? And Ro replied, as far as NPCs go, not really. Any surplus you can put on your homeworld. And Ty said, there's a maximum amount of people on the space station though. Once your space station is full, you can take the rest of your crew to your homeworld where they'll set up a base, have needs, and send you on random quests. Ro said there's a bunch of set tasks and positions filled by the NPCs on the station, and at the end of the game the hardest planets never become easy, so the random quests are always challenging, and they never want the game to get so easy that it's boring. MGBT asked Ty how many items will be in the game. And Ro said a lot. Ty said too many to count. We have a procedural item system that produces items on the fly. He's got the rocket launcher stuff open right there, and there are millions of combinations of rocket launcher. The game even procedurally generates the graphic used for the guns. Right now there are 21,000 different visual styles for rocket launcher, and then each of those styles can be coloured individually. By release time there'll be many more, and that's just for the rocket launcher. MGPT then asked, so I can complete a story mode with my friend? And Ty said, yes, you can experience the whole thing together. Tote MVG asked, how long would we roughly have to wait for beta testing, if there'll be any? And Ty replied, it's difficult to tell when the game will go into beta, but we are relatively far along. We're still deciding how to do beta testing. Combine Keegan asked, hi Fettel, here's my question. Will we have vanity slots for equipment? If so, can we get a medieval looking knight set as well? And Ro replied, yes, and probably. Vanity slots are a thing, and we are possibly going to have lots of wacky stuff. And Ty says there are so many different visual styles for armor, we're using the same random generation system as weapons, that you won't need costumes as much, because armors will cover everything. But you can equip armor to be purely visual, just like in World of Warcraft. Many of the armors are fun, so you'll be able to fight a knight indeed. And Dawn asked, will there be mining in the game, and how will you manage your city? Ro replied, there'll be lots of mining. And Ty says, the terrain is fully deformable, so you can go underground. Managing your city is going to be really interesting. You're going to have control over pretty much everything. He said he can't talk about that too much yet because they're still looking at what's possible, but they're hoping to give the player a UFO that's attached to the homeworld. And the UFO will let them suck up NPCs and reposition them. It'll also let you terraform on a large scale. Lazarus asked, will we be able to personalize our weapons? And Ty said, yes. First of all, there are ways to obtain weapons beyond just enemy drops, etc. So you'll be able to make sure you get the weapons you want. Then on top of them, they're planning for you to be able to paint them. Hopefully you know what I mean, he says. Salidenk asked, well, other question, please answer. Will we can make buildings in crafting or just build block per block? Ro says, still looking at options really. Right now they're looking at block per block, but that could change. And Ty says, there are going to be facilities you can place down, but they may take the form of buildings, for example, a weather control station on your homeworld, but you can place blocks. But yeah, Ro's right, they're still looking at it. They want the homeworld to be super unique though. So Ro says, yeah, like one thing I'm looking forward to is making an underground bunker colony. Somebody else asked the question, are there any plans or personal for music? And Ty says, we've got a couple of awesome musicians working with us. We want it to be retro style using modern synths. Raphael asked how many players can play together, and Ro says that's really a Kyron question, but Ty says right now we're still looking at that, but it should mostly be up to the specs of the server. Our test server is running on a terrible connection, and we've had around 10 people in with zero troubles, but that could potentially get much larger. We'll have to wait and see. Diman Risu asked, how long ago was Chucklefish formed? And Ty says Chucklefish has been around for a little while now, but this is their first release. They've been together for a few months now, and they're all good friends before then. Zaki asked, what is the dream experience you want players to have? How bad does latency affect gameplay? Ty says the dream is for you to be able to get lost in this vast universe where every time you play you experience something new with your friends. Latency is pretty well handled. He plays with a friend from Australia and he's in the UK. Ro says ideally we want to give players a purpose, a goal to work towards rather than just being a sandbox. And Ty says between the UK and Australia there's around 600 milliseconds ping and it does very well coping with that. Blue Fox asked, do you plan to release the game on Steam? And Ty says, I hope so. We'd like to make it accessible for everyone, so aside from Steam we'll be looking at other channels too. Starby asked, can you say the time you need to play until you get the endgame items? So basically, will the game be damn awesome? And Ty says, haha, we hope it's awesome. Rose says, we're hoping the progression will be reasonably long. I mean, obviously it depends on player, but yeah. And Ty says, gameplay up until endgame is pretty long. It is sandbox based, so you could rush through it at breakneck speed if you wanted to, but the concept here is for the endgame to be limitless and endlessly entertaining. Each planet in the game has a threat level from 1 to 100. Planets with a threat level of 100 will always be difficult, no matter what equipment you have, and when you're at endgame, NPCs will often send you on quests to threat level 100 planets. MGBT asked, what can you say about double mech control? I control my robot, my friend is shooting. Can we customize our ship? And if the game will be available on Steam, will achievements be there? Ty says, if the game is available via Steam, we want to go the whole 9 yards with Steam support, Steam friends, achievements, all that good stuff. Rose says, ship customization most likely to a degree. You'll probably be able to paint it different colours, have different colour schemes, attach decals. Ty says, in terms of mech control, we're still looking into it if you'll be able to pilot mounts with your friends. It's a technical challenge, but hopefully one they can overcome. GameGamer0 asked, I have a question, will crafting be in the game and how will it work? Also, how the hell do you get mecha? Also, does Ty promise to add hoverbike to the game and make it paintable, and will there be bosses? Rose says the crafting system is very deep, and Ty says crafting is rather different in this game to anything else. NPCs you rescue will have knowledge of certain plans and blueprints. You'll also be able to open a research lab on the space station, which will lead to a tech tree. Mechs are a part of that tech tree. And Ty says, Rose, should we add hoverbikes? And Rose says, sure, I don't see why not, I could do that. And Ty says, ooh, what about hoverboards? Because we knew we wanted vehicles to work in the game. We spent a long time making sure the terrain was easy to navigate. Things like hills can be walked up and down, no jumping required. And Rose says, yeah, that's something we're really proud of, actually. Ty says, you can walk up slopes. So it really opens the game up to vehicles. And Rose says, should save wear on your spacebars also. Wired Ecstatic asks, my question is, can I safely say that forums has been moved up the priority list due to a public request? Obviously they have now, forums are here. There's a subreddit as well. That's linked from the main site. And Ro then wants to elaborate a little bit on the crafting system. He says there's going to be varying tiers of crafting, and most of it will be done via the manufacturing facility on the station, which will reflect the various tiers of crafting, i.e. it'll have levels. You'll be able to craft things on person, on worlds, but it'll be very basic and limited, because it'll be pretty stupid if you could make armoured mechs from a workbench. But stuff like torches, basic tools, the things you need to do stuff, they can craft on your person. Irimir asked, will there be wiring mechanics? And Rose said, we hope there should be. Ty says they're looking for a really easy way for players to create their own missions, i.e. in the engine. So they're looking to have an in-game mission editor that you can use with your friends. Sort of like Little Big Planet. Then you'll be able to play those missions online. And Rose says the editor may or may not be post-release, though it really depends on time constraints. Commissar64 asks, hey bro, will there be politics or factions in the universe that you can gain allegiance or piss off? And Ty says there are going to be tons of human enemies in the game. Well, I say human, I mean humanoid. And we're looking at how we can turn them into factions. But you'll definitely see teams or groups of humanoid enemies that share similarities working together on planets. Tivek asked, you mentioned cataloguing your finds in the About page. What impact will this have on gameplay? Will the catalogue features and finds be usable on other planets? Ty says, we like the idea of the players feeling as if they're making discoveries, finding things for the first time, and in many cases they will be. So we want them to go to lengths to log those cool findings so they can show their friends. In terms of logging enemies, you'll actually be able to capture enemies and train them to fight for you, and those you can take to any planet. Tansky asked, my question, how will you navigate from one planet to another, using something like a space map, or actually piloting a spaceship? And Ty says, navigation is via a star map. And Tansky then asked, will there be reverse engineering as such, where you can say, find something in the chest and really want its blueprints, but you can't find them anywhere, so you reverse engineer it and get the blueprints, but destroy the item in the process? And Rose says, I want to say I don't think so, at least it isn't planned, but it could change, I don't know. And Ty says, reverse engineering wasn't planned, but it's actually a really interesting idea. Rose says they hadn't really thought about it. If we can incorporate it somehow without breaking the progression, then great. The idea was that if you haven't researched weapons, you can use whatever you find, but won't be able to create ammo for it unless that type of weapon's researched. So let us place things at key locations for missions and set pieces. We could possibly do something where reverse engineering the weapon boosts the research progress towards it. Venus asked, will the player be able to upgrade skills or traits? And Ty says there won't be skills or traits, but items will give you skills, and items will get better as the game progresses. Venus asked, will the game be developed to support modding? Rose says the modding thing is a Chiron question. She indicated she'd like to if she had time, possibly post-release. And Ty says modding is something we'd love to do, yeah. Aside from traditional modding though, we're hoping we can put out the tools we'll be using to create missions. Rose says, yeah, I can say if we do modding, we'll do it right. And Ty says, so players can create their own missions really easily. Tote MVG asked, how large will the worlds or planets be for us in terrain generation? Ty says, our engine supports any size for planets. They can even be indefinite, and we're wondering if we should limit it at all. Tote MVG asks again, can I follow all of the developers on Twitter? And Rose says, I think Legris and Fettel have a Twitter, as well as Ty, obviously. Fettelstar is Fettelstar on Twitter. Rose says, Twitter isn't really my thing. I don't have a lot to say. Fettelstar says she just posts about cats. And Ty, as you probably know, is on Twitter as Tayuri. Cobalt Cakes asked, I noticed there are text slots for your character in one screenshot. What purpose would those serve? And Ty says text slots augment your character in certain ways. Jetpacks, short-range teleporters, stomp boots, that kind of thing. Game Gamer asked, okay, will there be bosses, and the Ty boss question included in that also the death penalty? And Fettelstar says, also, can you use fists in the game? Ty says bosses, yes. Rose says there are going to be bosses, though right now in this phase of development we're focusing on normal enemies. Rose says death penalties have been talked about, it may be something that requires testing. Ty says money plays a huge role in the game, so it might be a monetary loss. Starby asks, will there be physics that affect gameplay, like the gravity gun in Half-Life 2? Rose says, it isn't planned I don't think, but never say never. Ty says, we're probably not going to have Half-Life style physics in there, but we're making the world really interactive. Monsters can kick chunks of dirt at you. Explosions send dirt flying that lands somewhere else. Rose says, yeah, dirt actually gets displaced. Dark DXZ asks, are there any ores in the game? Ty says, I'm not sure calling them ores is the right word, but there are going to be all sorts of special materials you'll be able to use in your factory. Rose says, in the context of will there be shiny things for me to mine, the answer is yes. Moses asks, will I be able to blow up planets? Planets I don't like, enemy planets, wherever. Ty says, destroying the planet entirely? That's an interesting idea. We haven't planned that yet, but one of the really cool things about Starbound is that because there are so many planets, you won't always get attached to a planet you're on, so you can happily blow it to pieces. For example, calling an orbital strike down on the planet that wrecks the surface. Rose says, yeah, orbital strikes for sure are planned, not just actually destroying the planet, but I'm sure we could. The TFEF asked, are you planning on having any sort of special NPC interaction? And Ty says, oh, there's tons of NPC interaction. Saving NPCs is a big part of expanding your space station. There are times you will have to actively carry NPCs off a planet, and with your hands full, you won't be able to use your guns, so your friends will really need to help you. Ty says, NPCs will give you quests, rewards, have desires. They might send you across the entire galaxy to find a special kind of pot plant to decorate their home. Marketh asked, can we rename planets? I want to name one Alderaan so I can blow it up. Ty says, you'll be able to name your homeworlds for sure. Other planets will be looking into a bookmark feature, so you can find your favourite planets again. You could name them there. Skeletti asked, can you make something like mix of the DNA captured enemies with catalogued plants or other things? And Ty says, we're actually discussing picking random elements from 2 different NPCs and combining them recently, so it's a maybe at the moment. Hardband asked, do the story missions feature randomly generated worlds or are they pre-constructed? And Ty says they're pre-generated, handcrafted for specific gameplay. We want some really good platforming and combat gameplay during the missions. And quests are like missions but take place on random planets. Elfo MPPU asked, my question, will there be references to other games like Pokemon? And Ty says, I'm not sure about references as such, but there is inspiration there from some of my favourite games. I want the combat to be really tight, for instance, similar to Castlevania or Mega Man, where you really have to think about the enemy behaviour to combat an enemy. Dr. Geek asked, how much can you guys support the community's interaction, e.g. a contest for the weapon sprite, winner gets in the game? Ty says, oh, we're going to do all sorts of things like that. Someone made a suggestion the other day of players making a donation to get themselves into the game as an NPC, and I really like the idea of contests. Community is a huge part of producing games for me. Havoc asked, will the game have just melee and ranged combat, or will there be some equivalent to magic? In addition to the teleporters and vehicles, could you add in catapults as a travel option? And Ty says they're both melee and ranged combat. We're also hoping we can include shields for blocking enemy attacks. Weapons come in one- and two-handed varieties, and when you equip two weapons, the left mouse button activates one and the right mouse button activates the other. So you could equip, say, a sword and a pistol and use them in combination. Some items require battery power, which you'll need to recharge. Also, a catapult for getting around sounds hilarious. Fettel Star says, Ty, we can do that. And Ty says, reminds me of the boots you find at the beginning of Morrowind. Wired Ecstatic asked, in what depth can you train the monsters? E.g., specs, skill trees, and will they fight with you? And what's the biggest issue the team have to overcome since beginning the project? Ty says, we wanted to keep the monster system relatively simple to start with to see how it plays out. Most monsters can be trained to use ranged or melee attacks, some can be taught to fly or swim. They have inbuilt stats like defense, attack damage, speeds, and etc. that will increase with kills. Combine Keegan asks, on the topic of NPCs, can we choose to evict them? Ty says yes. It's a secret just how you'll do that at the moment, but yes. He has some shifty emote smile in there. Tansky asked, will there be stellar events and phenomena like stars in various phases of their lives, black holes, supernova, and nebulae? Ty says, not for the initial release, though there are random events. They're more planet-focused. So maybe something will crash land on a planet you're on, that sort of thing. But after release, we're wondering what we can do with the universe as a whole. Kyulo asked, will there be PvP, and if so, will there be game modes, capture the flag, king of the hill, etc.? Ty says there will be PvP, and we're looking at creating pre-made arena asteroids that you can visit to play in an organised game mode that'll keep score, etc. Monsters change more than just their colours, their behaviour and graphics change too. As far as release, hopefully by the end of summer, but we aren't rushing, we want it to be perfect. Gameplay vids aren't far away, and he literally hopes to support the game for years. So that's the end of this Q&A. I've got a few more I want to do. They'll be coming in videos over the next week or so. Hope you enjoyed, and all links you need are in the video description. Thanks. Bye.